Hello, and welcome to the Sanctuary Scars podcast, where together through the stories we hear, we learn that even though we've been hurt, Jesus still heals. I'm your host, Sam Hernandez, and this is Sanctuary Scars. So today I'm joined by Valdez, a friend of mine that I met several years ago now. And fun fact about Ray, he actually played at my wedding, my wife and I's wedding. And I'm forever grateful to him for that, because that is one of the best days of my life. And for him to share that with
I'm
us.
forever grateful for the ride you gave me home right after your wedding. Do you remember that?
Yes.
He drove me home after his own wedding. He got married. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
You remember honking the horn and shouting in celebration?
Yes.
Was that one of the greatest moments ever? I told my friend about that. I told him what I was yelling out the window, all obnoxious about it, but it was hilarious. It was such a good moment. That was a beautiful day, dude. That was a day I'll never forget.
Same here, man. And I'm glad you're a part of it. It's one of those things, you know, what's crazy in life is there's moments in your life where it's either through work or school, like for our case and stuff. And it's just like, you meet a person and it's a lifelong friend. Like,
absolutely. My mom used to press upon me about a kindred spirit, and you brother are definitely mine. You know what I mean? About right. Someone who you may not talk to all the time, but the minute you have a conversation, it's like you never missed a day.
Yeah.
You know, that's truly you. As I watched you not only get married, but when your son was born, all the steps from there, when you moved and they stole your van, you know what I mean, with all your stuff in it, dude, and then you moved across the country, and then you moved again to another part, and you moved again, and then you moved to another spot, and you're all over the place. You know what I mean? It wasn't just keeping tabs on you, but it was more like when I would conversate with you, of like, where are we at as men of God in life? Where has God brought us, and how far He's brought us, that we look back and we remember Stitches College, and then we see, man, what a good God we serve. What an amazing God that we serve, and look at all the things He's done in our lives. And you and I always do this exchange where we just count our blessings, you know what I mean? Where we're just able to open up to one another and count our blessings when it comes to our sons and now your daughter. So, you know what I mean? That's a blessing. Yep. And it's like, how great is God? How awesome is God?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's good, because it's true. Yeah. I mean, from the jump in Gino Munoz's class. Shout out to Gino.
I'm still friends with him. We still talk.
Yeah.
We still talk. I've known him since 2010. That's when you and I met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he is still to this day one of the most influential people in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I told him that how many, not just careers he's launched, but how many lives he's spoken to, you know what I mean? Because the attitude he indoctrinated with us of going out and becoming better and doing better and being a better person, and, you know, giving it your 100% and don't give anything less, and just, you know, every day show up, do the work, and do the work to your best ability. It's like he had that Kobe mentality a long time ago. Tell us,
that's true.
You know?
Yep. That's true. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and share your story. And why don't we start with why don't you tell us just a little brief bit about yourself and who Ray Valdez is.
Well, I mean, it could be, you know, first and foremost, I'm a father. You know, I'm a father to a wonderful 13-year-old son. Get choked up already. But you know, it's been a journey from the day I gave my life to the Lord, and in the manner that I did it, to what He's done in my life over the past 25 years or so now, serving God. You know what I mean? It's been an incredible journey. I'm a musician. I'm a music teacher. What else? I mean, I'm a worship leader. I'm a worshiper. Just loving what God has done in my life, you know, and it came with a price. Sometimes it came with some ups and downs. It came with challenges. You know what I mean? Over the last 20 years while I was serving God, all hell broke loose in my life. I had been homeless a couple of times. I had been on drugs for years. I had found failure. You know what I mean? I had been in and out of jail. During that time, I also graduated from college. I graduated from UCLA. And then after UCLA, I'm working on my master's at Cal Poly. And so you look at like the story of my life from tragedy to triumph. When I lost my father when I was a year and a half. My father was murdered when I was a year and a half, so I grew up with a lot of dad issues, you know what I mean? Only to find my heavenly father and then to look for father figures around as I was growing up. And then in 2020, when I lost my mom, which was my first quarter at UCLA, you know, so much has actually happened in my life to display what God can do in someone's life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I love teaching music. And so
Yeah.
if you ever follow my Instagram, you'll see like the highlights of my students and the growth that they've had. I've had them as young as 3 years old drumming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To you know, singing that heart out. And especially when I gravitate towards the kids who love God and they love worship music, or we do Forrest Frank, or you know what I mean? We do songs that have to do with worship. Those are the ones I get to pour my life out to,
Yeah.
because I get to show them, hey, I'm a worship dude too. You
Yeah.
know, I was put on
Awesome.
this planet to worship the Lord. So if anything you could say of what I am or who I am, I'm a worshiper. Everyone is really called to do that. From the moment you open your eyes, you were meant to glorify the Lord with your life, you
Absolutely.
know? But for me, it came special because what I had asked God to do in my life was the minute I put an instrument in front of me, or the minute there's a microphone in front of me, I asked for the Holy Spirit to show up. I asked for an anointing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what God gave me. The miracle that God did in my life was He took something that was so broken and He gave it a gift. And that gift was able to hear something and play it almost immediately.
Yeah.
That's how I knew it was God, because I gave my life to God as like, hey, this is broken. You can have it. If you can do something better with this life, because it's broken, you can have it, because I can't do anything with it. And the way
Sure.
the Lord gave it back in the manner that He did was miraculous. It was brand new. It was better
Yeah.
than what I had. And for because of that, that's how I knew what my calling was. That's how I knew who I identified as. I'm a child of God.
Yeah.
You know,
All right. So we know a little bit about you now.
yeah.
So why don't you give us a little bit of rundown of when you first started going to church? I mean, it's different for every
Sure.
person, right? So
You know, I feel like they kind of conned me with food, like they tricked me, because they would throw barbecues, they have a carne asada or whatever, and they meet at the park, right? And I was always
kind of
hungry.
that'll get anybody.
I was just out of high school. I was maybe 18, 19 years old, and I was really empty. But I started coming around. And just like I told you, I gave my life to the Lord, and almost immediately, you know, there was a desire in my heart, you know, to play music. Within 2 weeks of literally picking up an instrument, I was on the worship team. You know what I mean? Within 2 weeks of actually picking up a guitar, they asked me to lead worship. That means I had to play and sing at the same time. And I
Yeah.
barely do three chords. You know what I mean? But a tiny little church in La Habra and a crazy pastor, you know what I mean, kind of
Yeah.
invited me in, and the rest of it kind of just snowballed. I went from the baby church to the mama church, and in the mama church I had flourished also. I was in a band. The band got to tour plays, do youth festivals, do all kinds of cool stuff. I mean, really, it was a wonderful experience, and it just
Sure.
kept me locked in. Sometimes my gifts kept me locked in church when I was hanging by a thread. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the ability to play music, I promise you this, anybody who ever listens to this has to know that churches need musicians.
Yes, they do.
We all need a drummer. We all need another bass player, whether we have one or you see a bunch of people on the platform and you go, I don't want to do that. They don't need anybody. Yes, you do. They need
Yeah.
you. They need
Yeah.
you. And in that need for the church, it had kept me in church for more than 20 years, because I had a pastor who would call me, hey, I need, you know, can you come play guitar? Can you come lead worship? Can you come help me out do this? Can you do that? And it's like, yeah. And even especially in the pioneer works, when a pastor was sent out from our church or got sent out or anything, you know, go pioneer at work, it's like, let's invite the worship dude. Let's invite the guy who brings his guitar, you know.
Sure.
And
Yeah, definitely.
that's what kept me in
Yeah,
church.
sure. So about 25 years ago, you start going to church, right?
Yeah.
Estimated
Yeah.
time. And during that time in that season, when does like the origins of like the pain start to, where you started to notice things that were
Almost right away. I didn't know how to
okay?
be discipled. I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know what behaving was. I thought, as simple as it was, God loved me, and I didn't stop sinning. As
Sure.
I didn't stop sinning and I still had ministry, I was public in front of people. So I had made mistakes in public. They'd come around to Rumorville, and immediately I had a pastor who was very, very quick to discipline. And man, that guy hurt my heart. He didn't just hurt my feelings, he destroyed me.
Yeah.
I was a young disciple. I didn't know how to be discipled. I didn't know well how things worked that way.
Sure.
The way that this man had what felt brutal. The hurt
Yeah.
started as brutal as he was. He didn't know how to shepherd a black sheep.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh,
And at that moment, in the first 5 years, I had already left his church because like I felt like a record player. Oh, our worship's here. Point, turn on the record. Let's turn on worship. Let's get the music guy. And they wouldn't even ask me how I was doing. They wouldn't ask me where my life was at. You know what I mean? They just saw me as the guy who would show up, plug his guitar, and play. And that hurt. That hurt
oh
because
yeah.
there was no relationship. You know what
Mm,
I mean? I didn't know how to be discipled, and I didn't want to be discipled anymore at that point. So I floated. I didn't float. It was ordained by God, really. But I made my way to I gravitated to one of my bandmates who wanted to disciple me, and he
mm,
was in our mother church. So I went to our mother church, and he put his neck out on the line, you know what I mean, to his pastor, his father, and said, look, you're going to come here so I can see you. I need to see you
yeah.
every week. I need to know that you're going to be okay. And I put
Yeah.
myself under his headship, and I became his disciple. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I think above all this, what you see is the contrast between who a musician was and who a disciple is. My
yeah.
pastor would tell me, he goes, I don't care about Ray the musician or Ray the guitar player. I care about Ray the disciple. And
Yeah.
that spoke volumes into who would speak into my life. And
Sure.
so, yeah, the hurt started right away. I found out that this was not a perfect place to be at. This is
Mm,
not a place to go to if you want, happy juice and band-aids. You know what I mean? You can go
yeah.
there to be encouraged, but sometimes you're going to go there and you're going to feel really, really, really discouraged by other people.
Yeah.
That's how I experienced the first 5 years of going to church. It left a really, really bad taste in my mouth, and I was really, really anti religious people. I felt like I was allergic to them.
Sure. With that in mind, talking about where you first started seeing the experiencing the hurt and all that type of stuff, why don't you walk us through some of the emotions that you were feeling during this time? I
Yeah.
know this is spanning over several years now, probably
Over
not just the 5 years.
over decades,
Yeah.
I had felt abandoned. I had felt alone. I had felt chastised. I had felt shamed publicly. Um, I had felt misled. I had felt manipulated. I had felt despised by others. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
with all those feelings led to depression, anxiety, you know what I mean? Feelings of self harm, you know what I mean? All because I was going to church and I thought to myself, God, this is not how life is supposed to be. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I could list out all these negative things that came out from me going to church. It's like, why would I go back to there? Why would I go back to that place? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's it's a lot. It's really a lot. And at a point, I had felt burdened because I was so human and so broken, and still having to work out my brokenness. The hardest part was having to work out my brokenness in front of people as someone who's on the platform.
Yeah. Uh, that's hard.
It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah.
It
I
was
bet.
awful because then people would, judge you, or you felt judged, but there were people who did show compassion to me. They saw me when I was strung out on drugs. Man, Ray's sick, and I was sick at the time. I was very sick. I was sick with, like just where my life was at. And they showed compassion. They showed love. Well, I
Mm,
can't say it was all terrible. You know what I mean? There were people who
sure.
did love me
Of
through
course.
some really rough times in my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we know the emotions, those can be a roller coaster during times like this, right? So why don't you walk us through a little bit of that? Like, how did you feel like your relationship with God was? Then how did people make you feel with
In a
that?
way, like I did have close ties of how my relationship with the Lord was as a mirror to how my relationship with people around me are. And
Mm.
that's valid. You know what I mean? If you want a fruitful life, you need to fix what's you need to fix the communication with your heavenly Father in order for this to work also. But when this didn't work out and I had nothing but hurt or nothing but abandonment and all those other feelings, it started to affect the way I saw this.
Yeah, that
Because then I
sounds.
became angry with God. Then I became bitter. Then I became dis like a distaste, and the Lord would show me and prove to me time after time after time, I have not failed you. I have not abandoned you. I'm not gonna leave you hanging. God would tell me, I'm God. I'm not like them. They're trying to be like me, but they're doing a real bad job at it. And during those
Yeah,
times where I anchored myself to the Lord, I was crying out tears, buckets of tears on the altar. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Before I had to get up on a platform, knowing that I was not happy, and in some instances, just not happy, just being in the building, but saying, "God, I'm here for you.
yeah,
God, I'm here for you. This is
yeah.
all I need right now. This is what I need." And I would beg the Lord, meet me in this place, meet me in this sanctuary, meet me in this house. I need to feel your presence because
Mm.
right now I don't feel it. And I don't feel it because of all these other people around me. Some of it was me. Don't get me wrong. I will openly admit, yes, it was me sometimes. You know what I mean? I grew up with this defense mechanism that if you hurt me, dude, I'm gonna keep you at arm's distance, or I'm gonna cut you out of my life. You know what I mean? And I had a lot of people I had to cut them out of my life, but I'd see them on Sunday morning. I had kept them at an arm's distance, but I wouldn't greet them.
Sure.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
If I did, it would. I don't want to be phony about it and go, "Hey, how are you?"
yeah. That's
You know?
hard. Yeah.
Oh, it is hard. They want to hug and dap me up, and I was like, "No, sir."
People don't understand, church people in general. I don't think people realize how much they affect people around them in church
Oh yeah,
and the way that they interact with a person, especially a person that's hurting, especially a
yeah,
person that's going through stuff.
yeah.
Because let's be real. I mean, the reality of it is most of us aren't coming out just like throwing spewing out all the stuff that we're dealing with, right? When we go to
No, we
church,
don't
we're
walk
not
into
just
church
like,
with a sign over our head that says,
yeah,
"I'm going through something."
yeah,
It takes an interaction for that to come out.
sure,
And I had realized that one time a brother went off on me and I was going through some stuff. I hadn't seen my son. I wasn't in my son's life. I had carried this burden of like, how come I'm not in my son's life? And I was late for a practice,
yeah,
and dude went off on me, and then I lost it and I went way off on him and his
yeah,
wife. And it was
yeah.
bad. It was bad. My pastor had pointed out sometimes we don't walk into church with a sign that says I'm going through something. You have to be very careful. You have to be sensitive about it. Sometimes someone comes in and they're burdened. And
And that's the thing. I think like people that are in church, Christians that are claiming the name of Christ, need to be very careful and delicate how we interact with other people in the church and showing that love and kindness to every person who walks in those doors because you don't
absolutely,
know what they're going through and you
absolutely.
may not ever know, but the
Nope.
fact that they know that that person can go home and remember the kindness that you showed them and the love of
Yeah,
Christ that you showed them, it makes
absolutely.
a world of a difference because they'll remember you. They will.
If you're anybody that says I'm going to serve God and put your hand to the plow and start to do a work for the Lord, you have to be extra careful of how you deal with people.
You can point to that for a lot of people, this just that alone as a source of pain
Yeah.
from scars in churches. So let's talk about this. Like we talked about, people have an effect on our relationship with God, whether we like it or not.
Oh
There is
yeah, absolutely.
that case,
As it
and
should.
yeah, absolutely. It can affect it in a good way. It can affect it in a bad way.
All right.
But was there any specific situations that you felt like maybe started to derail your faith?
Oh,
And not
absolutely.
necessarily like, yeah, so let's
Look,
talk about.
I often bring up my relationships that I have as broken sometimes with the men of God who spoke into my life, in particular pastors. You know what I mean? I had to come to an understanding and a realization that these are not perfect men. They're just men also. And
Yeah,
sometimes they've misdirected me, they've misguided me. I felt they manipulated me. I felt like what they were telling me as what they thought was right from my life was completely wrong. And then later on, criticized for it. Those kind of things would derail, you know, your walk sometimes. I looked up to you as a man of God, and you let me down. Not only
Yeah.
you let me down, you kind of beat me up for it because I let you down. You know, I could admit when I how many times I've been wrong. Go to the man of God who spoke into my life, said I did wrong, and he beat me up.
Yeah.
He verbally just obliterated me, and I go home with my head down, crying sometimes. And then I came to a realization that no matter what that man had spoken into my life, I had to listen to what God was speaking into my life. I had to listen to His voice. Just
Right.
God will use a man of God like a pastor or a leader or whoever at that time just speak in your life. But not
Right.
everything they're going to speak into your life may be from God.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I
Um,
mean? You have to read your word. You have to be in prayer. Your inner spirit's going to tell you whether that man is talking crap or not,
yeah.
whether
That's
he's full of
exactly what
it or
we got.
not, or whether he's just thinking of what your life could use. I'll tell you this: for most of the pastors that I had been under, there was a friendship level that I had with them as well, where it wasn't so you're way up here and I'm way down here because you're the pastor and I'm just the lowly musician. No, they would level themselves out and let me know, hey, we're all in the same boat. This is a
Yeah.
battleship. This is not a cruise ship. We are
Yeah.
going to get hit. We are going to face trials. The storms are going to get, thick. It's going to get rocky. The waves are going to get things. People are going to go overboard. This is not a cruise ship. This is a
Yeah.
battleship. We go
Yeah.
to war together. I got scars. You got scars. We all have been through messed up stuff. We both have messed up families. When they put themselves on that level, now I know that what you're saying into my life comes from a genuine place of understanding who I am as a servant, as someone who's just trying to, you know, let my
Absolutely.
light shine.
Yeah, definitely. It's easy to get distracted by the person that's making the statements and things like that and just see the office,
Yep,
and we can take everything and just run with whatever is said at times and just take it and run with it. Just like allow it to influence us too much when we forget that they're human as well. There's a reason why in the book of Timothy, First Timothy, the qualifications of a bishop are there, and they're so direct in this is what a man of God is supposed to be. And it
yeah,
tells you, and it's specific, and because that's the way it's supposed to be. There is, even though we know that they're just another guy, just like you and I, we also know that there's responsibility that they have that can't be taken lightly. In a lot of Christianity, we don't, we don't look for qualified people as much as we should, in the sense that the resume says that they're qualified, but their lifestyle doesn't,
oh my gosh,
because there's a maturity level that comes with leadership, right? And that's in any case, not even just in the church, but especially it should be in the church, because there's a higher calling in that, right? And
yep,
so there's a lot of feelings that are driven into some of these decisions that are made, or like you said, advice that's given. Sometimes pastors give advice that kind of discourages someone from moving on because they're going to lose that person in their church. Stuff
absolutely.
like that,
It
and
stops
that.
people from getting married. It stops
Mhm.
people from getting married. And in my particular case, that's exactly what it did. I got engaged. We didn't get married. Why? Her pastor did not want it to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I
T-
mean?
So we know those situations are real.
Oh,
So let's talk about, is there any like specific situations that you would want to go to, that you could refer to, that are really like deep wounds for you, that
absolutely.
that situation
That
that
was one
happened?
of them. That was definitely one of them. You know what I mean? He never had approved of my relationship with her in church. It was always like, stay away from her, stay away from her. Not even stay away from her. As I would bring up conversations of us even starting to like date, you know what I mean, or engage in a courtship, he would avoid it at all costs. I would
Yeah.
call him on the phone. He would never answer the phone.
Mm.
Eventually, I had left his church, and when I did, you know what I mean, within a year, she was with someone else and she got engaged and she got married. And I'm happy for her. Totally fine. But my pastor, had asked me to go back to his church, not to his church, but to reach out to him and reconcile.
Okay.
That wasn't easy either. I
Okay.
got I went to the church, I wrote him a letter, I gave him the letter. I did it in front of other men of God that he had in his church. He was having a men's Bible study. I had showed up at the end of his men's Bible study, and I gave him this letter. And I felt so awkward. It felt awful. Dude, I called my pastor over the phone and I almost screamed at him. I go, "Why did you make me do that?
Mm.
Why did you make me do that?" And he goes, "Because now the burden is not on your shoulders anymore.
Mm.
You did the steps you did to make things right. It is now on him because he had wronged you also."
Sure.
You know what I mean? And in a lot of instances, I've seen pastors, kind of only look out for their tight little circle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care about, them and their close, don't get me wrong. Everybody needs a circle of friends, but they had only looked out for who those people were. And it's like, wait a minute, what about other people who left? Find out why they left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Find out why they felt the way they felt, because they may never come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And that's an important question that a pastor should always ask whenever someone leaves. And I'm not saying at all, it's not my point to say that the pastor did something wrong. My point is to say that you should be reflecting on yourself and your leadership and seeing,
Yeah.
did they leave because of God or did they leave because of me? So we know 15 years worth of scars from a church is there's probably a lot. And
Oh yeah.
there's plenty of stories that could be told, but Sanctuary Scars is about hope. And so
Yeah, I can
when
definitely tell you about that too.
let me ask you, when did you start to feel a sense of healing and hope? Like can you point to a point in your life where you
It
started to see it?
it took time. It took time. And as a sensitive type of person, when I'm hurt, man, I'm wounded. Even if it's a scratch on, a surface level scratch, dramatic part of me says, "This hurts so bad. I gotta do it." And I would carry that for so long, especially in the early part of my walk. Especially in the early part of my walk, I was so sensitive to everything, so I carry it for years of
Sure.
how bad this person had hurt me.
Yeah.
Eventually, I have to get over it. And so during those moments, you let time heal some of those wounds. You allow the Lord to heal you through those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the way Jesus works is Jesus wants to heal you.
Absolutely.
He is at the forefront of, like, let's heal it now. Let's start the work now, because
Yeah.
healing also takes work and it does take time. It takes a one day at a time type of mentality of saying,
Mhm.
today I'm going to have my healing. Today I'm going to have my healing. You know what I mean? I'm going to allow the Lord to heal me from those
Absolutely.
emotional scars, from those words that were there. And so it
Yeah.
took time. And
Yeah.
over the years, it took time. And I would find out from, that the Lord had shown me, you know, I'm the one who takes care of you. You're in my hand. You're in the middle of my hand. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to forsake you, but I will show you that you can heal from this and continue to move forward with a greater experience, stronger, more grounded, you know what I mean? Deep rooted into who the Lord is.
Sure. Sure.
Just by continuing to go, just by continuing to serve, even when it hurts. You serve when it
Yeah.
hurts. I'll tell you this other story. There was a moment where the only time a pastor would call me was when he needed something from me. I told you this story before,
Yeah.
and it's like the one time he calls me, I'm in the middle of a food truck, I'm cleaning the food truck, and he calls me just to see if we were cool. He goes, "We all right?" At first I thought he was gonna call me because he wanted something again. And I'm looking at my
Yeah.
schedule already, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know." No, he didn't call me for that.
Mm.
He called me because he was my friend. He still
Yeah.
is my friend. He called me. He goes, "Hey, are we good?" I was like, no one's ever really asked me that. And I told him, let's go down the list. And I went over this list with him. You know what I mean? Of, are we good? You know?
Yeah.
And I leveled with him and I go, yeah, we are good. And I'll share with you this. There was a time where I was really mad at my pastor, and we sat down at a table, and he knew what I was getting at, because I told him, "Hey, have you ever been really mad at your pastor?"
Yeah.
And he told me some stories. He
Asking for a
told me
friend.
some sanctuary stories, bro. He broke down what happened in a span of 5 or 6 years where the pastor would not let him pioneer. sent to
Wow.
Puerto Rico, this, that, and the other. He was called
Wow.
to pioneer or pastor in Almani, and it just didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, after all these things happened in this other pastor's life, he wipes his mouth from the meal and he goes, "You want to ask me that question again?" I mean,
Wow.
I was blown away. I was blown away by the story and how angry he was at his pastor, and then realized that no matter what, you still got to heal. You still got to submit yourself under that person and trust that the Lord has called that person to speak over your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where the rubber meets the road. You can be mad, but man, don't serve angry.
Yeah.
Don't serve bitter. Don't
Absolutely.
be angry at being hurt. I know what it's like to be like deeply wounded by people in church and to still show up and say, I'm going to receive my healing today. I'm going to be healed today. And I'm going to continue marching on. I'm going to continue moving forward, and I'm going to serve with gladness because that's how good God is.
Yeah.
He is
That's so,
deserving. He is, if he never did another thing in my life, Sam, he's already done so much more than I ever expected. He's revealed to me so much behind closed doors in a prayer closet, showing me that he's got my back.
yeah.
Like all I could ever encourage someone is please don't get it twisted into thinking you're serving a man or an office
Yeah.
or a group of people. You're serving God. And when you really know what it means to serve God, you do it with joy, you do it with forgiveness, you do it with a peace in your heart, a reconciliation you have with the Lord, a reconciliation you want to have with everyone, even if you don't.
Sure.
You
That's
know what
good.
I mean? You want to make right with everybody around you.
Yeah.
You should want to when you serve. When you serve the Lord, you should want to have those things in your life if you don't already have them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's good. So, is there a moment that you can point to where something happened, or maybe it was a message, or maybe a time in devotion alone with God that really helped you find forgiveness, find peace in your heart towards?
Nothing in specifics. Yeah, nothing in specific. It was more of a day to day, week to week attitude of gratitude, of being grateful for what God has already done in my life that allowed me to continue moving forward. It
Yeah.
wasn't this revelation message that I had received that God had, all of a sudden just fell upon me and I fell upon the Lord's throne and cried and got up and everything was magically better. Didn't work out that way. It's never been like that for me, Sam. I
Sure.
struggled so bad, dude. I went from glory to glory to trial to failure to all this, that, and the other. And
Yeah.
all I've ever realized is many times you fall down, you got to get up one more time than you fall down. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Even when people knock you down. I feel like I'm the Rocky Balboa of Christianity. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm lumped up, bro. And I just come back in and say, you know what? Give me more because I
Sure.
want more of God. As bad
Yeah.
as it hurts, I know that tied with suffering, to have long suffering is to be tied to Christ because Christ suffered.
Sure. Sure.
Christ suffered, Sam. And in a way that it was so, I used to question God all the time. Dude, why did my mom have cancer? That's your servant. Why is my mom hurting so bad? Why does she have cancer all over her body? And all she does is love you and pray to you and glorify you. And she's in pain. She's hurting. And the Lord would show me. That's because she's close to me.
Mm.
That's because she knows what it's like to be me. She knows what it's like to suffer a murderous death on the cross, Sam. You know what I mean? You go through suffering. So as you suffer, there's always
Yeah.
going to be a part where you feel, man, this hurts. But you live with it and you continue to move forward. You carry your cross just the way the Bible had told us to do it. You carry your cross, you put one foot in front of that, and you just keep on going. And at the
Sure.
time that you do, when you finally get to the mountain again, the Lord will show you and reveal you to you. He'll make you turn around and you can see the darkness of the valley that you just passed through. Show you how far you've come. He'll show you your scars and say, "Aren't you healed now?" Yes, of course. Go heal, feed my sheep.
Yeah.
Go be
That's good.
healed and walk in that healing. Go and tell, like when Jesus used to heal people and go and tell, and we are called to go and tell.
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
stripped from church, but you know what? I'm healed. I was
That's
hurt
the
from this
story.
person, but you know what? I'm healed. And maybe it's not fully there, but God's healing me.
Yeah.
God's showing me.
It's an
God's
ongoing
showing me what
process.
healing's all about. Our God is a
Yeah.
healer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's true. We don't walk alone on this earth as Christians. We have other people that have been put in our lives on purpose. Is there any person
Yeah.
or persons that you can point to that you say, I'm not sure I would have made it out of this without their prayer, without their encouragement,
Absolutely. Oh,
something like that?
almost every single pastor I've mentioned and not mentioned them by name has helped me get through something.
Wow.
I mean
That's
it. And I mean it. As bad as they've hurt me, there was a moment in my life I would have never made it without Pastor Phil Hernandez. I would have never made it without his son Philip. I would have never made it without Pastor Ruben Gutierrez or Pastor Vince Caldera or his cousin Pastor David Caldera. I could list to you all these men of God who at one point, man, made me
true.
feel like crap. But they also built me. They made investments in me. They gave me a chance. They let me play that weekend. They let me do something, and God just poured himself out on me. And then God
Yeah.
used me, and I realized, hey, I would have never made it. I would have never had the relationship I have with my son if it hadn't been for my pastors who've been there for me, who
That's good.
encouraged me, and they gave
That's
me
good.
wisdom. You know what I mean? They poured their life out to me. So as
Yeah.
bad as I could talk about how bad they've hurt me, I could also tell you about how they built me. I could also tell you about how they took, broken armor and placed it on me and said, go to battle. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I could also tell you how they had my back, and not to put a knife in it, but they had my back so they can help push me and guide me and encourage me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's really good. So, with the stars that are in your life that you could point back to and those points in your life, I don't know about you, but for me, I look back at them now and I see them as monuments in my life and moments in my life that I can point back to and see God's faithfulness in my life. And it's not the case when you're in
Absolutely.
it for the time. You don't realize that. But how have your scars helped you shape your faith now?
You know, when I was on high school, I used to play baseball, or when I was in little league and I would catch, you know what I mean? And the ball would come up on my arm and leave a stitch mark. You'd see the stitching from the ball on my
Yeah.
arm. I would go off and show it off. I do the same thing with my tattoos. These are scars. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm proud to show them as monuments, as something that was a rough time in my life. That was a rough time in my life, but look how good God is. Look at how these scars have turned to beauty. They're
Yeah.
beautiful. You know what I mean? The experience themselves were beautiful because of the healing that came with it. Does that make sense? It
Absolutely.
wasn't I mean, just as bad as it hurt, look at the beauty that came out of it.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so those
Yeah.
those deep-rooted scars are down beautiful.
Yeah.
They're to be shown off. When we
Absolutely.
were kids, we used to show off. Look at the boo boo I got. See, I mean it.
Yep.
You know what I
It
mean?
came
It
with a
hurt.
story
I
behind it
cried
and
like a
everything.
baby, but you know what I mean? Look at
Yep.
it. It's cool. Scars are cool,
Yep.
dude. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's crazy to say it sometimes because we hide our scars. We hide our scars. We hide our hurt. Not all the times you're supposed to do that. Your hurting can help heal someone else.
Absolutely.
The way
Yeah.
you hurt and the way you go about your hurt can heal someone else's life if you're willing to share it. If you're willing to open up yourself about it.
Yes. And that, I think, sometimes we're so internally focused when we're in the situation, we're in that pain, that we don't realize that sometimes we go through things for the benefit of others. And that sometimes
Absolutely.
we hit situations that we get to grow from and we get to learn from, and then we get to be a blessing and encouragement to someone else through it. And we're over here thinking, why are
Absolutely.
you allowing this, God? Why is this happening to me? Meanwhile, if we handle it with grace and we trust and lean on God, there's people on the outside watching us thinking, wow, like God is so good to that person, even through all of it, you
Yep.
know? And it's like,
Yep.
we have to be focused on Christ and being an encouragement and lifting him up to other people and focusing
Absolutely.
on our pain and our scars. Let God worry about that. Let God take care of that because he's
Yeah.
better at handling it than we
Yeah.
are. you know,
Absolutely.
and so that's
Absolutely.
good stuff, man. So let me ask you this: we've gone through all of that. and we've heard a little bit of your story and the healing that's come along with that. But I always like to ask this question. Think of point yourself back in that situation, the height of your pain, right?
Yeah.
What was maybe 10 years ago, 7 years ago, and
Yeah.
time travel back to what you know now and put yourself in that situation and tell Ray Valdez that's in the middle of that pain something that you wish someone would have said to you.
Stay anchored. Stay anchored to God. Like, hold on with everything you have to the Lord and his promises. You know, his promises are not empty. His promises are real. You stay anchored to his promises, and the gifts he's given you are without void. You know what I mean? So hold on to those things. Hold on to it as if that's all you got sometimes. Even if it's by a thread, you got to hang on. Just hang on. Just one more day. You know, and there's times where I did fall away, Sam. There's times where I backslid. You know, I mean, I was still in church and I had a backslidden heart. There are times where I backslid and I threw up middle fingers to everybody in church and walked away for a while. You know what I mean? Only to come back with tears in my eyes, wishing, you know, that older Ray would have just told younger Ray, stay anchored, stay deep rooted, root yourself in the word, root yourself in a prayer life. So that way, when the storms come, you're not flying out all over the place. You're not taken away by a tiny breeze, because a hurricane will come. How deeply rooted you are is how great you'll stand throughout a storm. And the storm is going to get really, really, really ugly. That's what I would tell myself. I would tell myself, just be rooted, like as far down as you can push. Ground yourself in the Lord.
Yeah.
He's never failed you.
Yeah.
He's not a God of failure. He won't fail you. I can't think of any moment where God has failed. I failed every day.
We all
Fail
do.
all the time.
Yeah.
Fail. God has never failed. He's the reason why I can be successful. He's the reason why I've had any success in anything I've ever done, Sam, anything I've ever put my hand to, anything I've ever been a part of. And I can tell you this right now, God's favor is tremendous. You know, not only does he not fail, he also pours out favor. And in
Yeah.
that favor, he opens doors for you to be successful. And he makes you
Sure.
successful because he doesn't fail.
Absolutely. We we have to lean on him in all situations. And we're instructed to trust in the Lord with all of our hearts and not to lean on the things that we understand. Because a lot of times we aren't going to understand it.
Not
Yeah,
easy to do that,
it's not.
but it's not to say it can't be done.
So thinking about that and thinking about the pain and thinking of people who may possibly be in the middle of it right now or are feeling distant from God just because of things that have happened to them in churches or from people who misrepresent Christ. Um,
Yeah.
I think that that's a good piece of advice from you right there is staying rooted in him and staying rooted in his word and remember his faithfulness. Um, but is there anything else you would want to say to anybody out there that's going through it right now?
Absolutely. Whatever it is that keeps you from being deep rooted with the Lord, don't pay any attention to it. Don't pay attention to what's going on in social media when it comes to, you know, political ideologies or how people say they represent Christ and they're not like Christ at all. You know what I mean? Don't pay attention to those. Don't 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 look at what someone else is doing, you know, and think that's who God is. That's not who God is. That's not who our Lord Jesus Christ is. Not at all. Not at all. You'll really know. You'll really know when you anchor yourself in a prayer life and when you really get into the word of the life of Jesus Christ. When you look at what Jesus did when he was on this earth, why he spoke against Pharisees and religious people, then once you really like or begin to know who Christ is and was, then you'll find yourself. Then you'll find your identity in Christ. then he'll reveal himself to you. And in that way that he reveals himself to you, everything else becomes secondary. Everything else around you becomes not a big deal anymore. That person has that opinion, so that's their opinion. That's not the Jesus I serve. You know what I mean? That person feels that way about that political stuff. Let them be that way. That's not the Jesus I know. That's not being a Christian to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you really
Absolutely.
want to know what being a Christian is all about, be like Christ. That's all I could say. Be like Jesus.
Yep. So, well, that's good. I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it, and it's a great way to remind people that our focus needs to be on Christ. Our focus needs to be on God, because people will fail us 100% at some point. I mean, we let ourselves down, so how we expect other people not to, you know? And so I think the love of God can cover a lot of things in our lives, because we
Oh,
we can remember the times that God has forgiven us for things that we've done. And if we can remember those things,
absolutely.
it can allow us the grace to not look over, but for lack of a better word, look past the things that people have done to us.
Absolutely.
It's the reality of it
Absolutely.
is each and every one of us are imperfect. And so when we can see our mission and we focus on God and look to Him, we can do right by other people. Imagine in the church if people all carried the love of Christ with them. We see everybody through the lens that Jesus sees them, and one will see that, and that includes ourselves. We'll see one that we're
Absolutely.
not perfect either, but also we'll see that each individual is somebody that needs encouragement. Each individual is somebody that needs the love of
Absolutely.
Christ shown to them. And when we do that, we
Mercy. They
forgive.
need grace. They
Yeah.
need, whatever
Mhm.
favor you can give them, help open doors for people in that aspect also, especially if you're a leader. You know what I mean? You need to, just like you're doing for me, bro. You open up a podcast and created a forum for me to be able to tell my testimony and glorify God with that. That's
Yeah.
important. And I mean, that's being able to be like Christ in action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I really appreciate you taking the time again, like I said, and sharing your story and lifting up Christ above all
Cool.
things, and making Him
Yeah.
the forefront of all of it, because everybody has a story to tell, but the greatest stories are the stories that point back to Christ. The greatest stories are the ones that point back to God
Absolutely.
and His love and His grace, because we all need it,
Yep.
all of us,
Yep.
every single one of us. And
The Bible, what does the Bible scripture say? People will know the Lord, you know what I mean, by the word of your testimony.
yep, yep, absolutely. And we all have one, and
Yeah.
it's great, because our stories might be different and the scars that we have might be different, but the reality of it is we serve the same faithful God, and we can point back to that as
Absolutely.
Christ, and the source of our healing
Yep.
is God's faithfulness, and that's so
Yep.
important.
Amen.
But I appreciate you
Amen,
coming
bro.
on, Ray. I really do. Thank you for
Thank
telling your
you.
story, and
I appreciate it.
maybe we'll have you come on again. I know you said you maybe had some more stuff to talk about another time, so that'd be great
Oh
too.
man, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right.
All right.